And here's your host, Goody.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gabbing with Goody podcast. I'm your host, Goody, and the first guest we have here needs no introduction. It is my beautiful wife, Mrs. Goody, Christina. Today, we're going to talk about relationships, family, careers, and the dynamic of living in today's society. My beautiful wife here will introduce herself.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'm his wife, as what he said. I'm a mom of two boys. Well, we both are their parents, obviously, to a 2 and 5-year-old. Our youngest is Dawson, and our oldest is Lane. I've been in corrections 11 years next month. I just recently changed my job position. So that's kind of interesting and fun all at the same time. So we're trying to figure out that on top of just being a mom, and sports just started up. So we have to worry about that. So it's very exciting here in the Goodrow house.
Very exciting in the Goodrow house here, as she
Yeah.
said. We are going to talk a little bit about how we first met, and I'll kind of start the story off. Christina and myself had some mutual friends. They had a little bit of a party. We first met, and to be honest, I didn't really think too much of Christina at the time. So, and she probably would say the same thing about me, but she'll talk about it a little bit.
Unbelievable.
She was very talkative, very social, not a negative thing at all. At the time, I was, to be honest, was not really looking for any sort of a relationship. And it just kind of like fell in our laps. We had, like I said, the two mutual friends. They were kind of playing a little game of like cat and mouse. They were going out of their way to tell us that each other wanted to talk to each other and, go out on a date. And later on, we kind of went with it. We went on the date to Longhorn Steakhouse. Thank you, Longhorn Steakhouse. Making everything happen there. So we were on the date and we kind of got into the conversation, and then the cat kind of came out of the bag. I told her, I was like, hey, my buddy was telling me that you really wanted my number, and Christina really dropped the ball or dropped the hammer on me and goes, no, that's not true. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, careful. That Mike came out and got you. So she came out of her. We came out of that with the realization that neither of us was really interested at the time, but luckily it worked out for us in the long run. We did. It was an enjoyable date, at least on my end. I mean, she again could probably attest otherwise if she needs to, but but we had a good time, and one thing led to another, and we started dating. And I would say that in the time frame, and this was back in 2012,
yep. 12.
um, we were. It was different. I was recently, or not recently. I was out of a relationship, a long-term relationship for probably like somewhere between 3 to 6 months. I was out of it. It was a tough time in my life, and I really wasn't, like I said, looking for a relationship. And back then, harder to really find a person to, talk with and have that sort of connection with, because it was so in person. It was like right on the cusp of like dating apps, and things were like popular like that. And I didn't really have much luck with those kind of things. And like I said, Christina just kind of fell into my lap, and we've been together ever since then. And like I said, every relationship has a struggle, and we've definitely had our fair share of hardships. Definitely in the beginning, we were having issues with people who we thought were close friends of ours, and they were kind of trying to drive a wedge between us. And that was a tough time in the relationship. But I wasn't willing to give it up. And
I tried.
she
wouldn't
tried
let
to
me.
she tried to run away, but I caught her. I caught her. It was faster at the time.
He caught me.
So we again, just like every other relationship, it was a struggle in the beginning. I think again, Christina, you can talk about this if you want a little bit.
Oh, I will.
So I think she kind of had a hard time with trusting me particularly. And I think that kind of didn't do me any favors at the time. But like I said, with that struggle, we kind of made it through that. And I'll let Christina kind of give a little conversation in here.
I think it's tough when you find somebody that's very similar to yourself. And when you were dating people in the past, you really didn't have that. Not you, I'm just saying, general.
Dating, yes.
Yes.
Got it.
I, obviously I had things in common with who I was dating, but it's different when you have things in common, if that makes sense. Like you're both on that same level.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
The same level.
Does that make sense?
I mean, are we talking about like same level as in same point in your stage of your life? Or...
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So I can see that. At the time, we were both in a similar situation where we were kind of just whatever happens kind of thing, and
yeah, just seeing where it goes,
and then exactly. So we were seeing where it would go. We gave it time, and after a while, it became something that we both wanted, and whatever. We made it Facebook official, I guess we'll say that, if that's still a thing. So yeah, it was like any other relationship. It had its struggles, and a lot of it was dictated by outside opinions. Because together we were good.
Yeah, we were.
Together we weren't having any issues. We didn't fight. We weren't having, the only fighting that we were doing was contributed from an outside source.
Yeah.
A lot of he said this, she said that, and then next thing you know, Christina's coming up to me going, I don't know if this is really going to work. And, and I was just like, let's give it a shot. You know a lot about me. And that was another thing. When I went into this relationship, I told myself I was going to be brutally honest. And I think in the end, it worked out, obviously, because here we are. But in the beginning of the relationship, it helped out a lot because a lot of the things that you were hearing outside about me kind of was like,
you already had told me.
I already know that. And then the people were like, well, let me just make something up then.
Gotcha.
And we kind of ended up in that. Gotcha. I mean, you were there. You were there. So, I mean, I would hope you're understanding what I'm saying. But it was something that we just, oh, Angelette. It was just something that we struggled through, and it made, in my opinion, I think it made the relationship stronger, even though at the time it like always seemed like we were in the balance of okay, do we really want this? Is this something that she really wants?
Yeah.
Again, I was fully committed. I was fully
He
committed to this.
He was fully committed.
As a guy who was not fully committed prior to that, it was
I don't know what happened.
she flipped the switch, and I was super committed.
I gave him a little bit of something he wasn't used to.
Oh, and anywho,
Hakatui.
Oh, jeez. But anywho, we're
just kidding. I'm just kidding. We didn't even have sex for like what, a month and a half?
I don't know.
It was a long time.
Maybe.
In case my mom's watching.
Jeez. Okay. But anywho, as far as I'm concerned, we've only had sex twice. We have 2 kids.
That's true. That's
Sorry,
true.
everybody. Sorry for that outburst there.
True.
But anywho, so we're in the relationship, and everything seems to be going good, and time goes by. And then that's when we kind of both fell into our careers. We both met each other at the time where we were heading towards our careers. Myself as a firefighter, the year 2013, I was already a paramedic. I was working my way to becoming a firefighter. I got the call, figuratively, because it was a letter. So I got the letter in the mail saying that the town that I wanted to apply to was hiring, and that was my chance. It was, I believe, October when I interviewed. So October 2013, I go do the interview. I'm in there. Everything's coming out good. Everything, I'm at the interview with the selectmen. Everything's going good. Things are good. Walk out of there, and it's basically unofficially, they come out and they go, you're hired. We hired you. So one of the best days of my life, my dream job in the town that I was raised in. My grandfather was a firefighter in the town. It was following in his footsteps. It was an important time in my life. And then right around that same time, you were getting into corrections. You had gotten that same call saying,
That's correct.
Hey, you passed your, the testing, the physical, PAT, stuff like that. And then, tell us a little bit about that, about the beginning. How did you feel when you got that?
Well, I went to college for corrections. Well, not really corrections, but
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice.
Gotcha, yep.
Yeah, criminal justice. It was kind of something you just fall into. It's not, you don't grow up wanting to be a correction officer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I hear you.
But I kind of just fell into it. I did corrections in a different state prior with my cousin. And it's just better benefits where I am currently. So I applied, I got in. And I loved it. I just love how it's something different every day. Yet at the same time, it's like organized chaos, if that makes sense. So the same time every day you have certain things like count, rec, gym, whatever it is, it's the same thing. But then you never know what's going to happen in between then. So it's, organized chaos. Organized chaos. And I like that. And you never know what you're walking into, and that's what I liked.
Yeah, for sure.
I still like it, even though I'm, a mom. I still like it.
Yeah.
I still love what I do.
I will say that as a husband to a corrections officer, that there are days where you do feel the concern.
Yeah.
Obviously, a male-dominated field, and with my wife working in male facilities, obviously I was concerned. I know my wife is a very strong woman, and she's able to hold her own, and she does have a way about her. So it is hard to kind of control that concern sometimes, knowing when certain things happen around this CO gets attacked.
Yeah.
This inmate, fought that inmate. The violence inside, obviously, makes it tougher to be like, sit back and be like a regular husband and not be concerned about my wife going to, work at, whatever, some sort of office job or something to that extent. Obviously, there's a difference there. But being in the career that I'm in, I totally understand the allure of, having something different every day, not being in the same place.
Yeah.
Always moving, being active throughout the day with that spontaneous type of results, right? You go in there, you don't know what kind of calls are going to come in. You don't know what kind of day you're going to have. And there is an excitement factor about it, but you do get, like, I would say, I don't want to say that you would get jaded's not the word. You get kind of desensitized by it, right?
Yeah.
Now it's not so much something that's totally exciting for somebody. When you tell them a story about, oh man, this call was crazy, and people are like, oh my god, I don't know how you do your job, and you kind of look at yourself and you're like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, hey, My answer every time somebody comes up to me and says, I don't know how you do your job, is usually, well, somebody has to do it.
That's true.
So
Somebody has to.
somebody has to do the jobs that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, even though it takes a certain person, anybody could do it.
Yes.
It's about whether or not you can be successful in that
Correct.
field or stay, what I'll just say, stay ready,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can you stay into it for your career?
Yeah.
For you, for 25 years, is
Mhm.
this something that, you can stay in? I mean, you're pretty much halfway there.
Yeah, I am. But I feel like every couple of years I change what I'm doing within the department. I've been
Okay.
pretty lucky to do that. So for a while, I was second shift when I first started for a good, 3-4 years.
Mhm.
Then after that, I went to, we call it Intel, like the phone monitor. And then from there, I went to first shift. So it's like I'm changing it up now. Once I had kids, not now. So it's been like 6 years.
Yep.
I've been on day shift, and then just recently I changed to a supervisor. I'm, a chef, and I only really switched for the hours. Like I loved being a correction officer. They treated me well, as people would know. Not everyone's gonna like you, but I think I got respect out of my peers. I considered myself a well-rounded officer. So, I mean, that's really all you can do is just, try.
Yeah, I'd say go and do your job, right?
Yeah, and
You
just
go-
try.
You go in there, you
But
do
every
your
couple-
job, and you come home, right? You
Yeah, but
just
every
wanna-
couple of years I try to change it up.
And mixing it up is good.
Yeah.
If that's something that you can do inside of your profession, I would strongly suggest, make
Yeah.
sure you motivate yourself to
Mhm.
get to either that next level or that next opportunity.
Yeah.
Very, obviously, very proud of my wife for putting herself in those situations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So
The things
So
you
she-
do for your kids, though, you hope one day they acknowledge what you did for them. I mean, they probably won't realize until they're older and married and on their own. But you sacrifice a lot for your children.
Yeah, for
And you
sure.
hope that one day they realize that.
For
That's all you
sure.
can hope.
Yeah. So with that being said, we'll move on to our parenting. So the big thing for us as parents is making sure that everything is a team effort. So you're a team and you do everything together, share the load, right? Like, so that's the
Oh,
key.
I'm sorry. I got distracted by our dog,
Oh, Gillette making his
our
way
old
in.
man.
Hi, buddy.
Old man Gillette.
But anywho, we're good boy. So with that being said, it is a parenting is it's a full-time job.
It is.
It is like Christina said, we have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and it is some days it is a struggle.
Oh yeah.
There are times where my oldest one is just super active. My youngest one is super curious, and that combination makes everything sometimes difficult, as people would know. Other parents out there obviously know that raising 2 young children is hard.
It is. It's exhausting.
And you don't have a lot of time for yourself. All your time is basically spent for your kids. Like Christina said, you do a lot for your kids, and one of those things is you sacrifice a lot, as in sacrificing sometimes time for each other. I think
that's true.
that's something that Christina and I sometimes do struggle with, is making time for ourselves. We do like to have our our children involved.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, we need to like take that step back. And it's hard for us because we, like I said, our kids are, well, for lack of better terms, our kids are sometimes a handful.
Yes.
And we don't like to burn out our parents, and thank God for our parents, because if we didn't have them, we would be in big trouble.
We would.
They do bear some of this load here as a, part of our team.
Takes a village for sure.
It does take a village.
It does.
And we are grateful for them, obviously.
Yeah.
But like we said, a big thing is not to give up. There are times where, as a parent, you come along a time that is tough for you, whether it's your kids being difficult or your kid's sick, and like that kind of tests you as a parent. As you get that test, it's good to have that other person there with you to kind of help you through. Because again, like Christina's saying, it takes a village, and you have a small village, and then you have a bigger village. Obviously, the small village being within our household, and we try to do everything as a team. And I think that is key to parenting. Do you have any sound advice for those other parents out there?
I think what you said was pretty spot on. It's tough. I mean, you just take one day at a time. That's all.
Yep, one day at a time, and that is big.
Sometimes if you need to go lock yourself in a bathroom, like my husband does, saying he has to go to the bathroom, sometimes you just need 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes. Like today, he let me go get a pedicure. That was nice.
Yep.
I got my toenails done. It was just nice. It was me time. It was wonderful.
And
sometimes you just need that.
Meanwhile, I was home and the kids were attacking me. I was on the couch and I was getting attacked by my children.
Yeah. He's a very hands-on dad, though.
There's child abuse, and then there's father abuse. But you don't call the cops for father abuse. You just kind of take it. I will be the voice of the voiceless here on the Goodies podcast as we work our way. Dads, I know you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's a very hands-on dad, though. We're all lucky. The boys don't realize, but they are lucky.
Well, thank you.
They are
really tooting our own horns here on the Gabbing with Goodies podcast today. So
that was a toot.
Toot, baby. So here we are. So children, and I would say we'll run that into marriage. Christina and I got married back in 2016. We had a very beautiful wedding. I had a very beautiful bride, so it was very, very nice. We had a good time. The whole fire department was there, and obviously the fire department loves a good wedding.
They do,
and we love the fire department. So we had them there, and we all had a good time. And again, that was kind of where you start your full commitment. At the time, we were living together, so we already have experienced ourselves living together, which is. Obviously a huge step, because you want to know, is that somebody you can live with?
Correct. I think it's a huge, I was big on that. I had to live with you first.
Yeah.
Because I've never lived with anybody but obviously my mother and my sisters, and obviously my father. So, because I never lived with anybody, I had to live with you before I married you. Because if you don't get along with somebody, or they're nasty, or they don't know how to cook or clean, that's a big no. So
if the person
that's
that you
how
live
you know
with,
it's going to work.
If the person you live with doesn't know how to do the basic things of living,
living,
you probably want to stay away from said person.
You better get your shit together before you get married.
That is true.
Yeah, you definitely have to live with someone first, though.
Yeah, and that gives you that. It's almost, I don't want to say test run, because you're basically at that point there, you're in it, right?
Not really, though.
But we're
You could run.
I guess you're right. You could run.
You could say, F this, run.
I get
the house.
you true. Yeah, that's true. You could say that. But it does make things more difficult, and to make that step is a big step, especially like Christina said, with her not having lived with anybody else besides her parents and her family.
You've lived with people.
It was yes, I did. I lived. So. I even lived with an ex for a while.
Yes.
And I lived in other places without my parents. So not as hard for me to live on my own or live with somebody else who's not family. But
I loved it.
You loved what? What did you love?
I loved living with you.
Oh. Okay.
Well, living. We still live together.
We live together.
Sorry.
We have our
But
own.
at first, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like when we walked in, I said, "Oh my God, these stairs, Sue!"
Oh, the stairs. Yes. Yeah. That's true.
I loved the house. I just loved everything. Just being on our own.
It was what you would call the honeymoon phase.
It was, and you just look at all your hard work. Like you look around, you're like, we bought this together. We did this together.
Yep.
That was the first time. Then when we bought our second house, same thing. We did it together.
Yeah.
Because when you buy a car, you kind of just do that on your own,
That's true.
When you buy something, that's together.
Right. And there's a sense of pride and ownership in these things.
No, definitely.
And that's good. It is a good, I jokingly say the honeymoon phase, but if you lived, and I can attest to this, but if you live with your parents for, however long,
paying for all this
years,
shit.
You're kind of like when you finally get free, you're like, I'm just that. You're like, I'm free.
Wild animal.
I'm free now. Like I have my own bill. I mean, obviously there comes realizations after that you're paying, your own bills and you're paying, you need a job. But luckily we had already, like I said, started our careers. We had bought our first house in 2015.
Yes, a year before we got married.
Correct.
We were engaged for 2 years.
Yes, yeah. We had gotten engaged and then decided the
Yeah,
following year
first.
that we wanted a house.
Yeah.
And we did.
It took us a long time to find that house.
Well, I mean, the market back in 2015, though not
different.
not as bad as it is now, price wise, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, looking at prices now and how what people pay for houses now, but the amount of inventory at the time was low, and the quality, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say some of the quality of the houses
yeah.
was kind of a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, I don't really want this house.
Yeah.
And I want to say we looked at maybe like 30 or 40 houses.
It was a lot. It was
the first time around. And then we finally found the house our first house. And like I said, we bought that one in 2015. And we
it was
pretty
nice.
much.
It was beautiful. Everything was redone.
It was a flipper house. It was an old house that was redone on the inside. It had its quirks.
Yeah.
But it was good. We had a fenced-in yard. Everything was good.
We had no privacy. I mean, your first house, you don't think about this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't think, geez, I'm going to hate people behind me, to the sides of me. It's like everywhere you go. Every time you go outside, you're saying hello 5 times a day to your neighbor.
Yeah.
John Smith, whatever you want to call him. It's like you're saying hi every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't realize this is going to annoy me. No privacy. I mean, not everyone gets annoyed. They live in the city, Not that it's not my style. Not for me.
No.
Once we had our first son, we lived it out. We had a lot of stuff in there after that. Too much.
As a typical growing family, we outgrew the house.
Oh, definitely.
Even though that the house was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, it was only 1,200 square feet. It was 2 floors.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not ideal for what we wanted, what our future had to hold in store for us, which was another child. Mm-hmm. So, with that being said, we ended up in 2020. Mm-hmm. 2020, we started looking again for our second house, and now the market changes again. The market now, house values are higher, so the cost of buying a house was more than when we bought our first house, but also our house was now worth more.
Correct.
So it was kind of a double-edged sword as we, again, navigated a market that was a different type of market. We had put we were putting offers in on houses and we were getting rejected. It was a different type of experience. It was a very exhausting experience.
Oh, yeah.
Almost more. I would say that the second time around, it was even more exhausting than the first time.
Yes.
Because the first time there was like, we had a light at the end of the tunnel. And then this time when we were looking for the house that we're in now, it was, I don't know if we put an offer in on our, we put an offer in on a house, and every time it was like, a realtor's calling us up and she's going, hey, it didn't go, they didn't take it. They took another offer.
Yeah.
And then it was we put an offer in on another house, same thing. They took another offer. And then we put an offer in on another house, same thing. They don't want, you have a, oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Contingency. That's the word I'm looking for.
I can't believe my old lady brain.
There it is, contingency. And that was something that was basically telling people.
They didn't want to work with us.
They didn't want to work with us because we had to sell.
They didn't think our house would sell.
They had to sell. Well, they didn't know anything about our house, so you can't blame the people.
No, that's correct.
But it was after that third house, and we were like almost positive we were getting the third house that we put an offer in on. It was just it was almost like a defeated feeling. Like we were like, this house has been on the market for how many days?
It was a lot.
And they had gotten no offers, and we were just like, this is the one. This is our house. We were already like looking at it. We're like, we're in this house.
Yeah, it was nice. It had an upstairs playroom.
And then next thing you know, it was
man cave.
Same call. Our realtor calls us up again. She's like, I'm so sorry, but this is just not, it's not happening.
We did have a great realtor, though. She was awesome. I would use her again when we go to retire 9 years from now, 8 years from now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 8 years from now.
I'll be contacting her.
Yeah.
She was
for when
awesome.
my wife retires and leaves, apparently. I have plenty time left at my job, but when my wife retires and leaves, she's really having a hard time with this mic over here, but that's okay.
I'm always hitting my head here. Yeah, no, she was awesome. I would definitely use her again. She was on top of things. She had a whole crew. She was amazing.
She was.
She was awesome.
She was very good.
But it was just the time,
It was.
Once we changed it up and we didn't do the contingency anymore, and we had to sell our house before we purchased ours. Remember, we changed it up, and it worked. By accident, I stumbled on this house on what was it, Realtors.com, something like that.
Yeah,
and as
Zillow,
a joke,
Zillow, maybe.
Zillow, as a joke, I said, Andrew, we should take a look, and he loved it. He loved the house. It was only a joke. We came to see it, and he loved it.
I did enjoy the house. I came into the house. We walked through it. It was a for sale by owner, so that kind of gave us a little bit of a.
That's why our realtor couldn't find it.
Yeah, that's why it gave us a little bit of a, advantage. We were dealing directly with I should say our realtor was dealing directly with the owner of the house. Yeah. And she had the opportunity to do the same thing and say no, but we were able to. I don't want to say convince, but we were able to kind of put enough.
Built a relationship with
her.
Yeah,
we built a good positive relationship with the owner, and she basically was like, I want to sell the house to this family.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, well, we're just waiting for we had already sold. Our house didn't sell, but it was already in the process. It was waiting for us to find something. So we had an open house. People came through the house. Literally the day of the open house, we got offers, and that was the one we ended up taking. Strong offer.
Yeah, it was good.
And we
full price, maybe a little bit over.
It was a little, yeah.
And she paid for the closing costs, so it was great.
So we did good.
Yeah, it was good.
We did good.
You don't see that anymore.
But we did good, and we bought this house obviously for.
It's like the perfect size.
It is.
For us anyway.
Bigger house, at 1,900 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I mean, it is
older style.
It's older, but I mean, it's nice. I like nice. It, and it's got again, it's got its own personality. It's got a lot of nice things.
We're getting there. Got new windows.
Slowly making it our own.
Yes.
So that was that, and now the other thing that we can talk about was. Did we already talk about marriage?
No, not really.
Okay, so we talked about being married.
Correct.
Okay, so we got married.
We got married.
2016, we got married.
I couldn't believe I locked him down, boy.
Oh, yeah. At the time,
All
I
the
guess
women would say the same.
Oh, they
They're
would not.
shocked.
Stop it. The women wouldn't say
Rope him
anything.
in.
No, none of that. There was none of that.
He was a ladies' man.
No. That's not true. Anywho, we're going to talk about something else. So again, just like parenting, being married is sometimes a struggle as well. And I think that with that being said, if you can make it through those struggles, just like the saying goes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That kind of goes hand in hand with marriage, because is it really something that the things that you build together as a married unit, the things that you build together, makes it worthwhile. As you grow, all these things that we talk about, these houses, our children, our pets,
Yeah.
These things that we buy together, that we build together, that grow with us, makes marriage easy as long as you're willing to put in the effort.
Correct. Because you're not the same person you were when we started dating. Like, we change, we evolve, just as life goes on. Like, you find a new you, if that makes sense. You kind of reinvent yourself. I'm not the same person now that I had kids. I'm just a different person, especially with my career. I'm more paranoid, people would say. When I go out in public, I'm always looking around, thinking that person's a you-know-what, And just
A
like
creep.
sketch.
We'll just say creep.
Creep. Don't want them around my kids. I just don't trust people. But I wasn't that same person when I met you, So if you don't change together and you're not willing to kind of learn who the person is currently, then it's just not going to work, if that makes any sense. You just have to find time to reconnect.
True. I read recently, I saw something that you go through stages in a relationship. Obviously, when you start your relationship in the beginning, it's the whole falling in love, right? And loving each other, being with each other. You don't really have any other obligations besides each other.
It's easy. Yeah.
So things are easy, and you can build that to the next level, which is, when you have your kids. So now you have your kids, and you're basically
added stress,
working together to grow that situation so you can get to that next level, which is life now after kids. When your kids grow up and you guys, you learn to, some would say, fall back in love with your significant other.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That is something that some days I am happy about. And other days, to be honest, our kids are growing so fast.
Yeah.
And it is nothing but true what they say about people in the blink of an eye. Next thing you know, your kid is off to college.
I know.
That's or your kid is, moving on to high school, and, and it's like you see those through, in baby steps as they get older. Our son is, last year was kind of like the year where he started to start sports, our oldest one. So you're kind of like seeing it as he grows. He's taking on these new activities.
Oh, definitely.
He's running around, he's enjoying these things. And you're like, okay, you want to have your child have the best,
oh, definitely,
relationship with activities outside of school and school itself. And luckily, our son tends to enjoy these things. He does get frustrated at times, but he likes soccer, and he's good. He is good at it. He is good. But again, not to toot our own horns here, but our athletic son, the next Ronaldo, is it's just fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to be a parent. They say the craziest things sometimes.
Oh, they do.
And it's just nothing. There's really nothing to relate other than, it is a lot of just happiness and joy. because they just don't. They're like free spirits. That's the best way to say it. You know,
they're innocent little souls.
Our children, our sons, very very social, very like outgoing, and they just love to just run around and be kids.
Yeah. I try to. I feel like we don't gentle parent, but I feel like I don't know. I just want to be better. You know, I want to be better than what our parents were. Well, mine anyway. You know, I want to have patience. I want to, I want them to be able to come to us and tell us things and be comfortable, not be scared of us. You know, I grew up in a time where they'd hit you. You act crazy, they're going to hit you. You're going to go in timeout. And it kind of like put that fear in you, you know? I was a good kid, but it put the fear in you. And I mean, sometimes I'll raise my voice, you know, sometimes I lose it.
Mostly at me, not at the kids. It's
I feel
usually
like you don't need to be doing it all the time.
It's my fault usually. So
if
I
that
don't
makes
have to,
sense.
our children don't have to worry about getting yelled at. It's usually me that's getting yelled at.
If that makes sense. No, I don't yell at you.
I don't know what yelling is. That's what you would say to me.
Thank God you don't work with me. Ooh, Jesus.
So anywho, our kids and marriage has just been, it's been good. And I think we've done well for ourselves. We've kind of built our little life here in a small town. And
it's not easy, but we keep chugging along.
Yeah, that's it. It's all you can do.
Like a train.
You just got to move forward and try to keep you got to pick your battles. I think that's part of it too. Yeah. Picking your battles, and not sweating like the small stuff. I mean, sometimes when you're exhausted and stressed and things are just like, just eating away at you a little bit. You could be short with people.
Definitely.
And I think that's something that if you want it and you want it hard enough, you make it through.
Yeah. Just one day at a time,
So
I try not to get overwhelmed and anxious and all that. Just one day at a time. That's all we can do.
That's all you can do. And that's
be
all,
honest.
For sure. So we're gonna wrap up here a little bit. And first off, I'd like to thank my beautiful wife Christina for being here for the first episode of the Gabbin' with Goody podcast. Yes. Today being Gabbin' with Goodies.
Oh.
Copyright.
I like it.
Copyright to my wife there on that one. She came up with that one.
I did.
The Gabbin' with Goodies podcast today. Again, thank you for all of your support as we've gone through many phases of this and got it to its point where it is now. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I appreciate you. And
thank you for having me.
Again, you're very welcome.
Yes.
And hopefully everybody will be here.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
To enjoy the conversation with us.
Yes.
And
maybe you'll have me back?
Possibly. We'll see.
Oh, jeez. That doesn't sound too good.
So everybody, again, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our little conversation here today. And with that being said, we'll see you on the next one at the Gabbin' with Goody podcast.